So, hi Andy, thanks for coming on the show. Let's start with an introduction.
Hi, so I'm Andy. I'm a software architect at a cloud telecommunications provider.
Okay.
I've been in the role for about 8 years now.
Fab. So, one of the reasons why I asked you to come on was I talked to a lot of people, a lot of businesses, and a lot of them are in the zone of or in the area of moving to cloud. And we hear phrases then like public cloud, private cloud, and I guess something in between, hybrid cloud. Where one of these I know, but could you just provide some definitions or an explanation for all three?
Sure. So when people refer to cloud, they're nearly always referring to public cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And then hybrid cloud and private cloud kind of followed on from that. So when people are talking about clouds, it's probably easiest to think about rooms full of computers. So a public cloud really means you're using someone else's room full of computers. And so I am using instead of having my own computers where I install my software and I keep them cool and do all the feeding and watering and caring and looking after of those computers, I'm effectively letting someone else do all that, and I'm using those resources remotely. So a public cloud is really a set of computers that I don't own, but I'm able to use resources on, and I can install programs on, I can use resources on in many of the same ways that I would use computers myself.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about that is those public clouds, what most people just refer to as the cloud, are typically run by massive organizations that have a lot of expertise in running massive rooms full of computers. And because of that, they can do that very cost effectively with very high levels of availability because they're specialists in running rooms full of computers. So that's what I would call the public cloud, or most people would just refer to as cloud.
Mm-hmm. So then private cloud, still cloud then, what's the difference?
Private cloud is a kind of a funny term. So a cloud is a room full of computers. It's generally accepted that private cloud is a room full of computers where you own the computers. So nearly maybe 5 years ago, every company would have a big room somewhere. Every moderate sized company would have a big room somewhere full of computers that they ran all their software on. That's really the private cloud. It's kind of a funny term that's grown up to distinguish between a public cloud where the computers are owned by someone else and what we would have used to have called your server room or your data center.
But private cloud, I think, for me, the infrastructure is not in your basement, but it's hosted by somebody else. They take care of that infrastructure, but you own it, or it's all for you only.
So that's definitely one way of doing it. So private cloud might be you rent rack space, for example, at a provider. And so you still own those computers, but you're renting that rack space and installing your own computers into that infrastructure. Some people refer to private cloud as almost as the server room they own. You could refer to that as that. And you've got spectrums from the server room that you own all the way up to not quite public cloud, where you're actually buying or renting physical hardware to put into racks that you then look after, and you're probably patching the software and operating systems.
Okay. Now, thank you for that. And what I now want to get to is the subject of multi-tenancy, which again is a phrase that's often just bandied around. And we offer, as we both know, a service that is multi-tenancy. There is a perception there that there could be some risks to data, and am I going to see someone else's data? And clearly, it's in a well-designed system and well-architected system is not the case. I don't want to get into that here so much as why multi-tenancy, the benefits of multi-tenancy, whether that's, as in our case, hundreds or thousands of customers that are multi-tenanted, or in the case of yeah, what we all probably use Amazon.com as in a shopping site, and there you're talking of what, hundreds or what, billions of,
Millions.
yeah. But it's all multi-tenancy. So what we do that, what is the real benefits to the customer, our customers now, of the fact that we are providing a multi-tenanted solution?
So the difference between multi-tenancy and non-multi-tenancy, again, if we talk about computers, a non-multi-tenanted computer is where every customer has their own, physical piece of hardware or computer running. Whereas in multi-tenancy, multiple customers will be running on the same computer. So let's talk, Amazon's a good example. If Amazon was a non-multi-tenanted website, they would have to spin up new computers for every single customer. Clearly, that's not feasible. That just wouldn't scale in any way sensible. And so what they do is they have multiple sets of customers' data in a shared database, most likely, and running transactions for those customers through the same computers.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of advantages to this. It is typically much less expensive to run in a multi-tenant mode. So maybe let's not look at Amazon, but let's look at some other software provider. Maybe there's some kind of business systems provider. If they were running in a non-multi-tenanted way, they would have to be standing up, so creating individual computer resources for each of their customers. So if they had 100 customers, they would have 100 computers. If they had 500 customers, they would have 500 computers. And every computer requires maintenance. It requires patching. It requires managing. There's just massive overheads of that. If instead you can have each of your customers sharing the same compute resources, you can massively bring down those management overheads.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's how we achieve something else, which I'd like to talk to you about on another call, another video, which is, how can you then use that kind of architecture to affect a release schedule where you can release not 3 times a year, not once in a blue moon, but weekly or even daily if you want to, or even, I know some services are releasing even hourly. But before we do that, I just want to kind of close out on this topic of multi-tenancy. So obviously you said one computer to one customer. It's a nice analogy for what we really mean is, a set of services that could be several computers, but it's about scaling.
Yep.
So, I've seen pictures. I sometimes use a picture of a on-premise single tenant private cloud. Thank you for explaining that solution. So in the basement, supporting a contact center, 150 agents, and there were racks of computers.
Yep.
Literally, lined up. I've got a photograph of this picture. It was like 10 feet wide, 5 feet high. Lots of U's, I think they're called, but lots of racks of those computers. And then I've been to when we had our own data centers, I've been there and taken a photograph of all the computers serving hundreds of customers, thousands or tens of thousands of agents, and it's smaller. Mm-hmm. I mean, is there a massive benefit to the environment here too?
Yes. Again, because instead of having one computer per customer and therefore having 50, 100, 500 computers, you can get 50, 100, 500 customers running on one computer using a lot less resources.
Sounds great. Andy, we need to talk again. So please, everybody watch the next video. But for now, thank you very much.
Thank you.